This time at the Quick Speed Shop, check it out, I'm a carpenter. We're putting wood in the back of this truck. I gotta get my saws and squares and pencils out. We're lumberjacking today, and you're gonna see it right now on the Quick Speed Shop. Okay, so before we put the bed floor in, I wanna make the mounts for the running boards up here, because right now they're just floating in space. They're bolted to the fenders, but the front here is not mounted. And I've, off camera, made up some mounts here. Check them out. I just used 1x2 C-channel, 1/8 inch, and I welded up. This is going to drop down. This is going to bolt to the bottom of the bed cross member, and then the running board will sit on here, and I'll probably just put one bolt in it just to hold it down, because the running boards have a little bit of spring to them, so they want to push down anyways, and one bolt's going to be plenty. I added a little gusset here, but they'll be plenty strong enough for stepping on. So I whipped them up real fast. Let me climb under here and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so the underside of the running board is here, and if you saw a couple videos ago, I shortened these. These are actually off a 9-foot Stepside, so I had to shorten the front of it, and then I had to replace a section here where it was rusty with the original running board chunk from this truck, but the original running boards for this truck are completely garbage, so this is kind of pitted and stuff on the bottom. But these were undercoated on the truck they came off of, and they are actually pretty nice underneath, but we need some way, obviously, to make this stronger. So this guy here is going to bolt onto here. I'm going to drill 2 holes in this channel, and it'll bolt there, and it'll bolt on here. And I gotta use a level to figure out level here, but pretty much like that. Just kind of bolt to the cross member, 2 3/8 bolts, and then I'll run like 1 carriage bolt, I think, through here, just in the middle, just to hold it. And then I'll paint these black, but they'll be super strong. And the rear of the running board will be held by the fender. There's 2 bolts there. And you don't really, this side will get stepped on more than the driver's side. The driver's side is going to have the spare tire mounted over it, so it's going to be kind of hard to get to. But this one will be the one that could potentially be stepped on. But these will be super beefy. A couple of bolts here, it'll hold it good enough to stand on that. So I whipped these up, like I said, off camera, and they should be plenty strong enough. I'm just going to go ahead and get it clamped in place now and drill a couple holes through here. Then I can get them painted while the paint's dry, and we'll work on the lumber for the bed. So I got the running boards bolted on. They're nice and stiff now. I used a carriage bolt, and I ground the square part of the carriage off it and just made it into a straight bolt that I can tighten up with the impact gun, so it should snug it down. But I tried to use it to match the dimples in there. I just put one in it on the side of the bracket. But both the brackets are bolted on now. They're underneath the back of the bed on that bracket, and it's nice and strong. Hit the 1 bolt here, and I just get these off and get them painted up. But this will be super good enough. I already stood on it. It holds me up there. The rear, like I said, is bolted on the fender here, and the thing's nice and tight. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. I'm quoting the internet. It's not going anywhere. So both those are done. The other one on the other side, I just got finished up over there. You see it with the light there, same thing, bolted up on there. So I'll pop them off and throw some primer and paint on them in the meantime while we're working on the boards for the bed. Those can be drying, and then we can be all finished up with the back of the truck, I think, pretty much by the end of the video. This next day, I have the running boards getting painted and the brackets getting painted. So let's go ahead and work on the lumber for the bed. Now this is pressure-treated 5/4 deck boards here that I bought a while ago, and I've been having stacked up in here drying. And I can tell you that they've already shrunk and warped, so that's great. But I'm not worried about the bed. This truck is going to be a work truck. I mean, I'm sure they probably sell like an oak bed kit for this. Maybe not for the 8-foot Stepside. The short Stepsides, I'm sure they do. And you get the strips and the whole 9 yards. I'm not doing that. We're going to throw in this treated lumber with the amount of braces I got. This will be strong enough. It'll get all scratched up and bashed up. It won't rot. So, and it's a lot cheaper. I think this is like, I don't know, these are like $6, $8 a piece. So there's like $60 worth of lumber here. And we're just going to take some carriage bolts and bolt them right down through. We'll probably just 1 in each board just to hold them down. And it's going to be good. They're kind of dirty because they've been in here getting walked on. But some are warped, some are not. think what we're going to do is first find the center of the box and lay it out. Trim these down. They're all just a touch over 8 foot. I think that's how lumber comes. Especially this stuff it's like half an inch longer than it's got to be. And the way this tailgate is, and I'm going to make a piece of angle iron in the back. I think we're going to have to end up trimming like 2 inches off each board. Yeah, these are 8.5, 96.5 inches. So we're going to end up trimming like 2 inches off each board, or 1.5 inches off each board, or whatever it is. So the only ones that need to be trimmed are going to be the outside edges that trim around the wheel wells. The wheel wells are circular, but they also stick out further in the front than they do in the back, just by a little bit. So we'll get most of the center boards put in, then work our way out, and then we can use like a scribe and we'll trace around the wheel well on the board and then cut it out with a jigsaw or something. Do I have a jigsaw? That's a good question. I might need one. Anyways, let me get these boards out of the way for the center. We'll work our way out. Actually, which ones? The ones that have any kind of like side warp, I'll put on the ends because I can cut it out of them when I got to do cut them for the side pieces. Ooh, this one has got one heck of a warp to it. Holy moly. Man, I think that's going to be a side one. We'll set that up here. Ooh, this one also has some side warp to it. Nuts. And you got to let them dry out or else they'll shrink like man once you put them in the truck. And then they'll have huge gaps between them. Ask me how I know. This one's got damage on it. Oh boy, that would be a good side one too. Let's set all 3 of these up here because they're the nastiest. Oh, this one's split at the end and warped. Wonderful. Dang it. Set this one right aside. Well, this one over here seems to be all right. How's this one look? That one, even though it's got a bow to it, seems to be all right. That one's all right. All right, we got a couple we can start with. Good thing we're not going for quality here. We're going for, I don't know what we're going for, but it's not good. So, let's get a dimension to the center. All right to the tailgate is 96 inches, but I'm going to have a piece of angle iron I'm going to weld on here to cap off the ends of these boards. So I think if we cut these to 95, I'm going to have to get room to get it under there. Let's see. And back a little bit. 95 1/4. Hopefully the edge of that is square. It should be. So we're going to cut these. Let's cut one of these to 95 1/4. Oh, I got to get out the circular saw. We're in our carpenter phase of the project, so we need a circular saw. We're working off the back of the truck just like back in the day. Now, that guy, let's go like that. This guy is kind of like that. Let's use this one in the middle because it seems to be the nicest. There we go. Oh yeah, perfect. Now we just got to measure the center of our board. These are what, 5.5 inches wide, I believe. 5.5. So 2 3/4. Yep. And then we got to find the center of our box. 2 and... Want to say it is... It's 55 on the money. So half of 55 would be 55, half of 55, 25 plus 3, 27. 27. 7 and 7. Oh, that'd be 54. 27 and a half. Right there. Actually, I can see an old center mark on here already. 27 and a half. Yep. All right. 27 and a half there. Hoop. Whatever this is up here, which could be less because it's on the inside here. What do we got? 53 and 3/4. 53 and 3/4. Say 54. That'd be 27 minus an eighth. 26 and 7/8. Something like that. Ow. That was my knee. 26 and 7/8. 26. 7/8. Can't reach it. Is that the center? Let's check. 26 and 7/8. Look at that. Boom. Close enough for government work. All right. Okay, it's a good thing I laid these boards out because we almost had a faux pax. By centering the first board up in the center of the truck, we're going to end up short over here. It's 7 inches between the board and here, so one board plus 2. But if we go here, it's less than 5, or it's 5 inches. So the next board that I lay down will get trimmed into the wheel well. Then I'd have these little like 2-inch spaces on either side, which I thought about just not putting lumber in, leaving it steel like that, but that would look kind of goofy and crap would fall in there and get stuck all the time. So what we're going to have to do is shift the lumber over. And I think what I'll do is center up the middle board on the center line on the edge, and that'll shift everything 5.5 inch, or I'm sorry, 2 3/4 inches, because half of 5.5, so 2 3/4 inches that way. And that'll make the last board, will have to get like a 1/4 inch trimmed off, and then whatever to fit around that wheel well. And then the lumber will go all the way out to the edges on both sides. So that's the plan now here. I'll just shift this over. I also, before I bolt these down, I want to take the opportunity to spray fluid film on the top surfaces of the frame. That'll just be easier to spray it right now while I got the bed floor off the top of the cross members and stuff. I'm just going to hit it real fast, and it'll get a good coating of that stuff on before the bed floor goes on. So I'm going to move these over, re-square it back up, move these over. Then I can actually start drilling, and we can start bolting them down, I think, as we go. or at least not, maybe not bolted down. Well, yeah. Saw the time lapse there. Basically I set the boards up and I drill them and I put the nuts on. Here's the hard part, using nylock nuts on carriage bolts. When you try to tighten these down, if there's any, there's resistance to the nylock, if the holes are wowled at all, the bolts just spin because the heads won't grab. I've had to use like vice grips and squeeze the head down, and I'm getting it, but it's very slow. The frame's super slimy now, obviously because of the fluid film, so I'm slow going here. But I've got the two center boards bolted down. I've got bolts in the front, the outside boards, or the next boards over. I'm using a ratchet strap to pull these over because they're warped and kicking around. This one's going to straighten out pretty good. This one, I'm going to have to go down in the middle first. And I bolt this way out. So I'm going to have to go in the middle and squeeze it in the middle and then work it. But I'm just going like this along. It's really slow. I'm not going to bore you with it. The time lapse would be 18 minutes long just in the time lapse. But I'm watching NASCAR. And the race started, and the race is almost over, and I'm only this far, so it's taken a couple hours just to get this far, just with the monkeying around. I had to cut all my carriage bolts off because they were too long. So I cut an inch off all the carriage bolts with the grinder and stuff, so I got those going. So I'm just going to work out until we get to where we got to trim the boards for the wheel wells, and I'll bring it back in for that. Even the simplest of tasks, like putting boards in a truck, you think it would be easy? Nope, takes forever. So, we'll see how it turns out. Well, after another couple of hours of drilling and fitting, I've got all the main boards in here. I had to use the straps every stretch of the way because the boards are starting to get warped a little bit sideways, so I sucked them in. There's one or two little gaps, like here there's one that I couldn't get the tail clicked over anymore, but I've got a ton of tension on the straps, so they're sucked over as much as they're going to go. These boards are dried out, and I made the gaps tight. I just got thinking, hopefully they don't get wet and swell up and butt into each other and try to break each other. I didn't think about that. But my experience using treated lumber before on another flatbed is I put it on green and I painted it black. And then when I got out in the sun, it like shrunk them way up and like opened up some gaps that were like almost up to a ½ inch between two boards. It was like crazy. So I'm going to guess that these are going to do the same thing. Once they get out in the sun, they're going to shrink even more, not expand the other way when they get wet. Hopefully. I mean, they're 5.5. They measure 5.5, so that's supposed to be the dimension. So hopefully they won't get bigger than that. Because they are pretty tight together, but whatever. So now the last section, this is going to be the tricky part. Because I don't have a skill saw to use, so I'll have to use a Sawzall, which is going to be kind of butchery. But I'm going to measure from here to here, all the way around and get my dimension for the board. I'm going to have to rip it. I actually already measured it. I think it's 4 1/4 and like 4 3/8 on that side. We're within an eighth of being true here. So I'll rip it 4 1/4 on this side, and I'm going to lay the board up against the wheel well, square it up here. I'll probably put a couple of use these little shim pieces down here, set it up on top, just mit it. Then we're going to take a compass and trace down along the wheel well onto the board, right? And then trim it out, and then it should drop down into here once I trim the center out for the wheel well. And these boards I think are just going to go in here and then fold down and sit flat. And I'm not going to be able to really access a lot of the hardware, especially in the middle. I can probably get a bolt there and a bolt in the front, and maybe actually I can get 4 out of the 5 bolts in it, and then the tail will be held down by the angle iron. So I can get to it. I gotta bolt it from underneath, put the nut on from underneath, because I can't reach under to bolt it anymore. But put a couple of bolts in it anyways. The front, at least one in the front, and then this will be held down, and then something in the middle. It's almost 9 o'clock again already. I got to go to work tomorrow, so maybe I'll rip them out real fast, and then I don't know, we'll see what happens. But this took way longer than I thought it was going to take, doing all the drill. I mean, there's like 40 carriage bolts here, and by the time I got every board in, trimmed the board, put it in, squared it up, strapped it down, drilled all the holes, put the nuts in. It's super long process. I've been doing this since, probably 5-6 hours now. The video for you guys is only 20-30 minutes, but I got 5 or 6 hours in this. I cut out all the monotony of board, drill, hammer, nut, board, drill, hammer, nut, over and over and over and over. It's if you had an actual bed with the strips, and where you get the lumber, you buy the kit and you just put the strips on and bolt it down, it would be way faster than this. But this is way cheaper than a bed kit's like $400 or $500 for one of these trucks, or a Dodge or a Chevy or whatever. I'm going by off of like C10 Chevy prices, but $400 or $500 for oak bed kit, and then even more if you get the stainless steel strips and everything. So this is like I said, I think like $60 worth of lumber. It's going to get all scratched and banged up. This is going to be a work truck, so it's actually going to get all beat up and scratched up. So good enough for what this truck is. All right, so next night, I've cut one of the sideboards here. I'll show you. I did it off camera just because it got late last night. I mean, this board was all warped like really bad, so I ended up with a big gap in the middle because I was trying to cheat it here to figure out this part, which I cut pretty straight, but it was warped over like a 1/2 inch, so I had to like guess and then put it back. But I'll show you what I did on this other side here. What I did was I took the board and I laid it up here, and I measured, I think, 2.5 inches. It's not square now because I just kind of threw it back here for you guys, but measured and got it square to the side of the bed, where it was. Then I just took this compass and ran along here like this and traced out the wheel well. So you can see here it comes over and then juts in, then it goes around like that and then back over. Now it's approximate because before I realized I had to vice grip this, the thing kept moving around. This little cheap little compass kept moving around. So I'm going to get it close, but I'm cutting it out with a Sawzall, so it's not real precise anyways. It's not a jigsaw. Obviously, it's a Sawzall. But I'll get it close. Like this side, like I said, it was warped, and I ended up with a bigger gap than I really wanted. I also had to notch out for these nuts that were going through the bed side. So I notched them out with a cut in a little bit, and then used a chisel and chiseled out enough to get around there. So it's not perfect. This whole bed's not perfect, but it's good enough for being a heavy-duty work surface here. So after I get that cut out, the next step is we're going to cut a piece of angle iron, one by one angle iron, to cap this off. I'll throw some paint on it, or at least primer on it. We'll tack that in. It'll lap over the edge of these boards an inch, and then tack onto here and hold them down tight so the tails don't get wild, since the next bolt is back here. And then essentially, besides the stain, the wood will be done, and we can move on to something else, because like I said a minute ago, I got hours and hours and hours in being a carpenter here trying to get the stupid floor done. I gotta get something else done. I can't spend all my time with old lumber in the floor of this truck. So I got a metal cutting blade on my Sawzall, and the key is to do it the best you can here. As I start off, I can't see what I'm doing because it's a shortcut. Just got to ease into it. Whoa, easy now. Hold on a minute. Lost my clamp. All right, here we go. Whoa, son of a bee sting here. Why is it getting all wonky? Look at that, it worked. I'm a carpenter now. Man, that's not too bad, I guess, for, it's like a jigsaw on steroids. Just clean up this edge that I couldn't see with the saw. Bite into her with a hacksaw just a little bit because it's a little more easy to handle here. Once I get all these notched out, I just take a screwdriver and I chisel them out. Where'd the other one go? Oh, it's on this end. It's down here. I see it. Oh, I see it now. Now I just take my little screwdriver and I go tink and I chip them out. Where's my hammer? How did it get way in there? Hoop. Ah, come here. Aha. Got it. I learned last time to support this piece because I had it chip out on me on the other one. So we're going to put that on there. We're going to clamp that there, and then I go right in here like this, and I just, it chips out pretty good. Not perfect, but it's good enough for what's going on here. Obviously, if you actually know what you're doing, you could use a wood chisel, but that would require me to go look for a wood chisel. So we're going to do the screwdriver method instead. And this tailgate makes an awesome workbench. Boom. All right, that should be ready to install. Oh yeah. Whoop. Careful. Just, where is it? Right there. I got one little spot. It's a little tight. I mean, that's about as tight as you can get it. Oh, I see. Well, that will, that's in there. I'm going to get a block of wood and a bigger mallet because I'm going to dimple. I already put some hammer marks in it. I'm going to dimple that, but it'll go down. It's just a shade tight right here in one little spot, but it'll hammer down in there good. This will this will fit. So the lumber's complete. Just I'll put a couple of carriage bolts in it, like I said. Then we'll do that piece of angle iron across the back, and we'll have a good floor here. All right, teased you long enough. Now, before I unveil the bed floor, let's unveil the tires on the rims. Check it out. I had my buddy John mount these up at his garage the other day, and look how awesome. Can you see it? Where is it? Yeah. Look how awesome they're going to look. I'm afraid that the truck isn't going to fit out of the garage with the big tires on it, so I might wait until I put it outside to put them on. But we can get a look. Obviously, it's going to pick the truck up a little bit once you put it on there. But how awesome is that going to look? I was going to run them with the Dodge hubcaps on there. I'm thinking I might just leave them all white with no hubcaps because I kind of like the look of that. I might put the hubcap on the spare on the side of the truck, but I'll leave the hubcaps off the truck. I'm not sold yet, but you can see the height of the 255/85 versus the 235. Now this tire is half flat, so it's a little shorter, but still, it's going to fill up the wheel well. It's going to pick up the truck another inch or two and fill up the wheel well some, but it's going to look super cool. But because of that door over there, I don't think I can put them on. Let's roll up front. We'll take a look up front. This has got smaller tires on the front right now. These are just 245s. So you're going to see quite a difference here of several inches. Look at that. It's a little tight in here, but man, that's going to look super awesome. It's going to, yeah, it's actually going to pick the front of the truck up probably 2 inches. These tires are going to be great, and they're going to fit good with the 4-inch lift. But like I said, I don't think my clearance here, the lights, I don't think I'm going to be able to get out the door when I put these tires on in here. Not sure. So we're going to hold off until the next video. 99.9% sure the next video we'll get it outside and put the tire on. Here's a spare. This is going to go on the side of the box. All right, so I got the rest of the wood bolted down here, and I added some of these Tiedowns. You can buy these from Harbor Freight. They're like $5. They're rated at, I don't know, 3,000 pounds. I've got one bolt into the steel of the bed. The other bolt goes to some big washers into the wood, but it's just so I got some tie down areas to, you know, when you got the load in the bed, it's actually nice to have something to tie down to. So I got 2 in the back, I got 2 in the front, and then I got 2 up on the black roll bar. And I'm going to add 2 more probably after the video's over because I don't have time to do it right now. But these stake pockets get rainwater in them and they rust out because they're encapsulated. They're not open on the bottom, just on the back. So I'm going to make a cap plate, and I'm going to cap the cap it. So it's going to bolt on, and these guys will bolt to the cap plate to the top of the bed. So I'll have some back here. And these ones on top, I'm going to put a little electrical tape on the bar, on the center of this, because they'll do that if you don't have any action on them. But so we'll have 2 up here and 2 in the front, 8 all together. So there'll be plenty of tie down areas for hauling any loads in here. You know, crossways or anything else is going to be mounted up nice. So I've got those. Finish up, and I'll show you one more thing I'm going to do. It'll probably be after the end of the video too, because I'm running out of time and I got to get this thing out because I'm running out of video content. So this is a piece of 1x1 angle iron here, 1/8 inch, and it's just going to weld to the side of the box and to the back of the box on top of the wood. I'll prime it inside and out first, and then I'll weld it on and I'll hit it with some paint. But this is going to weld on here. And if you ever have to replace the boards, they're only under here about a 1/2 inch, so you should be able to take the bolts out and pick the front of the board up and get it out from under here. But this guy will weld on here, and I'll give it a nice area to keep all the tails from getting wild, and I'll give a nice transition. You won't be catching the end of the lumber and getting splinters or, you know, tripping it up. You just have this nice steel edge here that'll act as a protector for it. And we've got a super strong pressure-treated wood bed. And I also said, like I said, I'm going to polyurethane or something. I've got some old stain and this and that here down in the basement. I've got to scrub this with a something, because I've been walking on them, they're all filthy. I'll get something to clean the dirt off them, and then I'll put clear polyurethane or Thompson's water seal or something on it just to give it a little protection for the weather. You know, stain or whatever I got. I got some old stuff down in the basement that I can use up on this because it doesn't really matter. So that's the saga of spending hours and hours and hours putting the wood in here. Like I said, I cut a lot of the monotonous nonsense out because it was just board and drill and board and drill and board and drill. And you would have been bored. B-O-R-E-D, not B-O-A-R-D. Get it? Ha-ha! So anyways, this floor will last a long time. It'll be super, super strong, especially with the steel underneath it. We got our tie-down points. Boom, ready to go. We'll finish that up. I showed you the wheels and the tires. I can't wait to get those on. Probably, I'm going to say the next video on the truck-ish. I want to build the spare mount. That's got to be done. I mean, technically it'd be done outside. The weather's kind of breaking. It's almost springtime. Got a month to go to spring. But it's hit and miss. It's warm right now, but it could get crappy. But I'm going to get to the point where this truck's not going to be able to be in the garage anymore because of the height of it, with the tires, with the lights and everything. So once it goes out and that stuff gets put out permanently, it's going to be out permanently unless it needs to get in here for some kind of major overhaul. But I need to do a little bit of tuning on the engine. I'm not sure if the choke pull-off is incorrect or the choke might not be getting 12 volts. You start it up and it goes like super rich for a little bit, so I've got to tinker around with the Holley carburetor. I could do that outside, but I got to check a couple things. I'm still having power steering issues. The pump is, I don't know if the pump's bad. It's squealing and squawking. The system was empty for a long time, so it might have air in it. I don't know. So that's squawking and making noise. I've got a pump leak on the plow pump is leaking. I've got to see some of the fittings, see which one's leaking there. It's puking out fluid on the ground when it sits. But I would say we're like 92.675% done with this truck. Put the tires on it, tune it, a couple other little trinkets, get the plow back from the sandblaster, fix that, paint that up outside in the springtime. But I got to do some tweaking with the electric. I got a couple of lights. The marker lights don't work in the front fenders for some reason. On the sides, I got to figure that out. And it could be sockets or grounds or something like that. Figure that out. Fix the choke. Check all the fluids, nut and bolt the whole thing again. And then, by the time springtime gets here in another month or so, this thing should be pretty much dialed in and be ready to be put on the road and used. And we will drive it around, put some miles on it, and see how it works. I got to get it ready by August. It's got to go to the Truck Nationals in Carlisle. That's right, this truck will be there. I'm taking Ted with me, Ted from the other videos there. So hopefully we'll be there with this. Come check it out. I'm sure it'll be the only long box Stepside patina-ish brown, green, black Dodge with a snowplow at the Truck Nationals this year in Carlisle. So hopefully we'll see you there, and hopefully the truck will be there. It should be. Everything is brand new. I can't wait to do the wrap-up video on this thing and tell you how much I spent on it, because you won't believe it. I can't believe it, but it was way, 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 way too much money for what this truck is. But what are you going to do? Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. We'll put them big wheels and tires on here and see how it looks. It ought to be awesome. And we'll build a spare tire mount and whatever else I can figure out to do with it. So until then, don't forget to subscribe, tell your friends, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time here, waiting for spring at the Quick Speed Shop.